Immortals Fenyx Rising is a fantastic little game that gives that Breath of the Wild charm to people who don't have a Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately, Ubisoft just couldn't nail the marketing.
He's a storyteller like me.
No, more of an actor. He'd regale me again and again. Just when he thought he couldn't regale anymore, I'd get him to give me one more.
Okay.
And one more.
We get it!
HJ Review. So by this point, all of the hype, whatever hype there was around Immortals Fenyx Rising is gone. You've probably heard from those who have played it that it's a great game. And then for the rest of it, if you're like me, you haven't heard much about it because all of this just kind of can't. First it was Monsters and Gods, then it was Immortals Fenyx Rising, which by the way is a terrible name. Just way too many syllables, way too many words. Reminds me of Castlevania naming. And then the marketing focused more on the money aspect of DLC and all that. And everybody just knows that Ubisoft has made a reputation for themselves of dropping their prices very fast, which just kept people away from a new franchise like Fenyx. We're going to call it Fenyx. And I have to say, kudos to all of you. If the price of this is going to drop, you're better off waiting. Myself, I waited until we got a 30% discount on this. I got the whole DLC thing, and I love that I could buy the PlayStation 4 version that came with a free PlayStation 5 upgrade. I do not have a PlayStation 5, so I played this on a base PS4, and probably not the best platform to play it on. I'll share why. But let's just talk about the highlights of this game, what makes it so good, as well as a few of its downsides. So the first thing that hit me was the music in this game sounded very familiar. Like upon loading the title screen, I was like, why does this sound like Ori and the Blind Forest music? And of course I looked it up. It's the same composer who made the soundtrack for this game as they made Ori. So if you like Ori music, you're gonna get the theme song here that's gonna keep coming up over and over again, which is beautiful. But that's about as far as it goes. This soundtrack doesn't quite hit that crescendo of Ori, but the main theme, the dun, 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 while it's beautiful, they kind of overused it. Like you hear it after every like little major fight, after you do every little thing in this game, it kind of gets worn thin. And now my experience with this game as a whole really started off with loving it. And then I made it to about the 35. So I rolled credits at about 35, 40 hours. And there's a lot of things I realized just kind of fall stale after they lose their initial charm and appeal, which I've unfortunately seen in other Ubisoft games. So I think it's a little bit of a Ubisoft issue more than a specific game issue. They kind of find the formula, they copy paste it a little bit too much for my liking. So anyway, music's good. What really makes this game stand out are two things. First, it's the comedy, and the second is the combat. Now the comedy lies within Prometheus and Zeus, which are the narrators of the story. So for those who don't know your Greek mythology, well, Zeus is kind of like the king daddy of all the gods. And then Prometheus is a guy chained to a rock by Zeus with an eagle that eats its liver out every day because he gave fire to the human race. So anyway, these two are going around, and Prometheus is telling the story of Fenyx and how the character Fenyx can go on to save all the other gods from this thing that has pretty much enslaved and took away the powers of the gods called Typhon. And Zeus is a snarky god, and there's just hilarious banter. There's a lot of innuendos. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes. The comedy, honestly, is solid, and they really should have focused on marketing that comedic aspect. It's in the demo, which is fantastic. And honestly, it's the demo that sold me on this game. So if you can try the demo, try the demo. The second exciting part about it is the combat. The combat has enough depth to it, which makes it feel rewarding. And the more stuff that you unlock, you can unlock your skill trees, you can unlock new abilities. So basically, you're going to have three weapons. You've got your sword, which is kind of your quick attack. You've got your axe, which is your slow attack, your strong attack, if you will. And then you have your bow and arrow, where your arrows replenish automatically and with a short cooldown, but pretty much you have infinite arrows, which you can use. And then you have your god powers, which use different things. So you have the god power where you can like pull spears out of the ground. You have one where you can like launch this massive hammer into the ground. You have another god power which lets you like throw fire from your kind of bird that follows you around. And then there's one where you can shield bash with the god power. So between using the three weapons, the god powers, and unlocking skills, it really gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can do and your play style. For example, one of my play styles, and another god power is you can lift things. So you can lift a rock and you can throw it. For those who play Breath of the Wild, it looks a lot like magnesis, but imagine it working on anything that's non-magnetic. So one of my cool combos is I absolutely hated the bird monsters, the ones that basically are flying. And later in the game, I was able to target a bird, pretty much hone in on it using my levitate, my grab ability. I could like pull myself towards the bird, getting that lift, and then I would do a bunch of air combos. When my combo would reset, I would do the lift again, letting me stay in the air for as long as I needed to kill that bird, and then I go on the ground and deal with everyone else that I needed to deal there. So that part is really well fleshed out. And there's also a little stealth aspect to it. So you can sneak up on the initial enemy of a fight and you can do a stealth attack to do that. The enemies hit each other, which is a really cool thing. So you can actually try to get a little bit of interference from the enemies to damage each other. You can knock down a tree, cut a tree, grab the tree, throw it. There's enough physics elements to this game to let you be creative and have your own play style. And by the time that I rolled credits, I don't think the combat was not one of the things that I was tired. So the combat as the main fun loop works. I loved it. The next thing are the upgrades. So this is very much a world that you can go out and you can do whatever you want. You're on an island. They kind of give you 4 major areas that you can explore. And once you go there, you kind of reveal the map, the typical Ubisoft tower. And then you can find chests. You can fight mobs to unlock chests. Those chests usually come with new upgrades for your armor or weapons. There are these like there's puzzles strewn about that you have to kind of solve, and solving that gives you coins, which lets you buy upgrades for your skill tree, or you can get health upgrades. So pretty much the more you explore, the more you're rewarded. And it's really fun to just kind of go around. Now, if you're a completionist, there's a part that's a little bit of annoying, is to find everything, you have to basically use like an eagle eye, which lets you scan the terrain. And you have to wait for your controller to vibrate. And then when it like goes, you hit a button and it goes, boom, there's a chest over there. You have to go over there. So there's no way to like reveal a whole map, which might be Ubisoft taking that feedback that people didn't like all the shinies being revealed and going to it. Personally, I liked it. So in Fenyx, I don't like the fact that you have to scan the terrain from multiple different angles on the land to uncover everything you want, and you have to go one at a time. And if you're missing pretty much 1 or 2 items in this entire island, good luck finding it. There's no way that I know of that you can easily find it without scanning it with your own eyes. The side quest aspect to this game, there's a lot of stuff to find. You're going to be pretty much going back to your hub, which is like the Hall of the Gods at one point on the island. That's where you can increase your health when you collect enough Zeus lightning bolts. That's not true. You can upgrade your health when you collect enough ambrosia crystal things. The Zeus lightning bolts are used to increase your stamina. The coins are used to upgrade your skill tree. And then you can upgrade probably some other things. That's where you can also forge new weapons. So what I like about the way that you forge things is, so you have your sword slot, and you can have different types of sword with different buffs. So you can pick what buff you want, and then you can stylize your sword with whatever aesthetic you want, which is fantastic. But the way you upgrade is you upgrade the sword slot. So the sword slot, I think, has 5 or 6 levels. When you upgrade that to level 2, all swords get stronger. So you're not dealing with managing hundreds of swords that you have to like get rid of, craft. It really simplifies the whole aspect of collecting and upgrading. And weapons don't break in this game. As much as we see a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild, weapons don't break. So you never have to worry about that. The rest of the game feels a lot like Breath of the Wild in the sense that you're going to explore everything. You can climb whatever you find. There's a thing called vaults, which is the equivalent of a shrine. So a vault, you go in there, it's kind of a puzzle or a fight challenge that can be done piecemeal. And then there's always a bonus chest, which is kind of like the bonus aspect to that vault. And that's where you get your Zeus lightning. Then there's also the equivalent of a temple. So there's multiple temples in the game, which is like the big dungeon. That's going to take you a lot longer, a lot more fights, a lot more puzzles. Let's just say if you like the physics-based puzzles of Breath of the Wild and you want more of that, this game is perfect because it gives you more of that, and it doesn't really copy just Breath of the Wild. It innovates in its own way. Myself, I was getting a little bit tired of puzzles because I just don't like puzzles that much, but in the beginning, it was fun solving all these things. Going back to the PS4 and why I had issues with this platform, and I'm having this issue with all modern games on the base PS4. The load screens are horrendous, and I'm really looking for it. I'll probably complete this when I get a PS5 eventually, because the load screens are a good like half a minute to a minute on the base PS4. You're probably not going to encounter that on any other piece of hardware. But yeah, the load screens are just bad. When it comes to your aesthetics, and let's talk about the DLC. So I'm going to do the DLC in a separate review. But the money, the microtransactions aspect here, when I completed the game, the story, it felt like one complete story. Now, the DLC sounds like it's really for those who want more, and that's perfect. That's how I think DLC should be. Like, I think it's a completely side story that has nothing to do with what you do. So the base game does feel complete from start to finish. You get everything you need in there. You can buy coins in the store that let you buy cosmetics, which are so unessential. Like, if you really want to deck out Fenyx, your horse, your wings with a very specific look, you can go and buy that. I never felt the incentive to do that. I never really felt anything was really warranted. My account is connected to like the Ubisoft Connect, which gives you challenges and gives you coins if you complete the challenges. So I have like a little bit of coinage to buy stuff in the store, but honestly, I don't care. I'm very happy with the armor that's it's not like that armor gives you any kind of buffs or the weapons give you buffs. It's completely cosmetic. So as much as it got hate for how it was marketing all of these additional add-ons, it's actually implemented quite well. So overall, this game, I think would have easily have been an easy sell at full price as a $60 AAA game. It feels like that. It's a fun game. It's bright. It's colorful. It kind of satisfies everything I want. And it kind of ends right at the perfect point where I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired of this world. Let's just wrap it up. And it does that beautifully. If you want more, there's plenty of stuff to run around the world and collect everything you want. And then there's DLC if you want even more of that. So this game could have been marketed better. I think they could have done a little bit more polish just to kind of get rid of the grind. I say grind, but like I just feel like it needed a little bit more uniqueness let's say in the third quarter of the game. But otherwise, they've done a fantastic job. I would love to see more games like this. I'd love to see this IP continue. And if you're also into Greek mythology, you're going to get even more out of it because they don't whack you over the head with these are the stories, the Greek mythology. Like, the game assumes your Greek mythology, and they kind of do like these like really like comedic spins on it or just side jabs on it that will probably go over your head if you never really studied Greek mythology, which I think is a shame because a lot of people won't get it. I studied it when I was like in grade school or high school, and so some key bits stuck with me, and I was like, oh, they're referring to that, or I'd look stuff up. I'm like, oh, that's a funny comment. So yeah, if you're like into Greek mythology, you need to buy this game. Just the comedy alone is a fun ride. So this game, highly recommend. It's going to be on sale for sure throughout this year. Once it's on sale, that's when I recommend pick it up. I'm going to go dive into the DLC. It's not all out yet, so once all the DLC is released, I'm going to review that, and I'll let you know if you should buy it. But for this one, I think it's a buy it on sale. Absolutely. I'll see you on the next Hey J review, and until then, keep it classy.